Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Preacher and the Prodigy. We are back live from the campus of Lipscomb University in Nashville, Tennessee, home of the Lipscomb is the
Bisons, not the Bisons, not
Is
like
it-
North Dakota State. I'm pretty sure it's the Bisons.
the Bisons, like
Bisons.
plural.
Yes, I believe so. Not the Bison, not the Cardinal like Stanford. Bisons, B-I-S-O-N-S.
That is just crazy. But we're glad to be back with you.
Not
Lipscomb-
actually. Down Vogel Studios. But
Yeah, we are actually in our home base in Waukesha County, Wisconsin, the Diamond Vogel Studios, here for week 7 of the college football season. We are the Preacher and the Prodigy. Every week we talk about national college football. We do it without the bit of embarrassment or shame from the perspective of University of Michigan Wolverine fans. Michigan is 4-1 on the season, a workmanlike but not necessarily mind-blowingly beautiful win against Wisconsin,
Mhm.
our home state, over in our home stadium in Ann Arbor. But Michigan moves on. You also went 4-1 this week with your predictions. I went 3-2. We are now separated by just 3 games in the course of the season. I am 18-14, and you are 15-17, with a 1 behind each of those numbers because we do have the James Madison Louisville tie in there. Can't really use it for anything, but we cannot
it's there.
forget
We
about
cannot
that.
forget it.
About that crazy
Yes.
push early in the season. Before we look ahead to week 7, a couple thoughts on week 6. We already mentioned Michigan's win. Big win for
Yes,
Miami of Florida.
But I guess the biggest takeaway from this week, we have to
Texas
start
A&M beating Mississippi State.
with, we have
You
to
really want to hit that Notre Dame Boise
We
stuff,
have
don't you want to talk about that?
No, we have to start with Penn State. We have to start with Penn State. In the most un-James Franklin-like game of all time, when everybody talks about how James Franklin can't win the big ones, he can't win the little ones. Well, I just lost a little one. So more fire coming for his head up there in Happy Valley.
All it takes is going to be $56 million to make that problem
They
go
got
away.
that.
Crazy stuff. We didn't talk about Luke Fickell evidently quitting. Just
giving
really
up.
strange things happening at the end of the Michigan-Wisconsin game. He correctly, I believe, goes for the field goal down 17. Correctly does an onside kick, but even a deep kick would have been justifiable when you have 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute timeout. But instead, onside kicks and then just concedes.
He just didn't use any timeouts. So I'm surprised he's not out of
Joel
there at this
Klatt
point.
was like, I'm gonna keep my thoughts
I think
to
he's been I think
myself.
he's been a little bit, but
Then after that, Gus Johnson
mind-blowing.
says, "What do you really think about this?" And Joel Klatt says, "I'm gonna keep my thoughts to myself for right now." They're probably out on his podcast if you want to look for Joel Klatt's podcast. But strange things happening. Penn State comes into the game licking their wounds, but no reason to feel completely down on yourself or like the season's lost when it's overtime loss to Oregon. But then you go out to 0-4 UCLA, admittedly in a hostile environment, a packed Rose Bowl.
40% of the road.
Rabid. I mean, they're like the Eagles fans out there. A rabid UCLA fan base. All 154 of them saw their Bruins, led by Nico Iamavela, close enough,
probably.
running the ball again and again and again past the Penn State line into the secondary, picking up first down after first down after first down, and after leading 27-7, UCLA hangs on and wins the game. I think it was
42-37, and the halftime line was Penn State -2. So our friends down in Vegas still thought that Penn State was going to come out and win the game, but
they thought Penn State was going to outscore UCLA by 22 in the second half.
In the second half, the Bruins hung on thanks to Iamaleava. You mentioned it, running game, first player to rush for 100 yards this season against the Nittany Lions. They get it done. Huge win for Deshaun Foster, biggest win of his career undoubtedly down there in Pasadena. You mentioned Miami getting a big win. Malachi Toney,
the U is real.
Game. So Florida State takes a step back, and Miami takes a step forward. Texas still falling off expectations. They are out of the top 25 as well with Penn State.
Clemson's out. Penn State. Florida State, are they still in the top 25?
I think they're 25th. Yeah,
in virtue of that Bama win, which is looking better. Bama did not mess around with Vanderbilt they came out and made a statement.
Yep. Look at it this week.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
We mentioned the Michigan-Wisconsin game. Let's pick the Wisconsin game this week. They host the Iowa Hawkeyes in the battle for the Heartland Trophy in Camp Randall. This game is 6 o'clock. And although they're the road team, the Hawkeyes are favored by 3 in the hook, 3.5. Wisconsin, this rivalry has been about dead center, 49-47 in favor of the Badgers' overall series history. This is the kind of game where it's late at night, and if you're a defensive guy and the score is 16-13, and it's a one-possession game, you know you got to watch the Iowa-Wisconsin game. It's like the Iowa-Nebraska game, but just earlier in the season. So, yeah, Iowa is on the road, and they are favored by 3.5. Who do you like? You got to pick first.
I'm going to take Wisconsin.
All right.
I like what I saw out of Simmons, the quarterback. I think their defense is pretty solid. I don't think that Bernowski's going to challenge that secondary, and Wisconsin has what it takes to shut down the run. I think that Wisconsin actually gets the W. Give me the Badgers in this one.
I'm with you. They were honestly kind of solid without the head coaching mistakes against Michigan. Hung in there for a little bit. Run defense was very good. Run defense, one of the best in the country. I think that's going to be a huge factor controlling the line of scrimmage in the game against Iowa. And you mentioned Simmons looked very well against the Wolverines. Give me the Badgers also win this game outright.
Probably feel like 9-7 or something like that.
That's a Badger cover. All right, let's move on. Let's keep it in the Big Ten. Fox Big Noon heads back to Champaign, Illinois, where they will be now hosting the number one team in the land, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State is a 14.5 road favorite.
What is the over-under? Did you see that on this one?
I did not. I'll check that in a second. But Ohio State has looked as expected throughout the first bit of the season, and so has Illinois, except for their fluke of a game against the Indiana Hoosiers. I think I'm going to take Illinois, and I'm apprehensive with that pick because of we saw what Indiana could do to Illinois, just take the doors off of them. But give me an Illinois cover. I think they're going to throw the kitchen sink at Ohio State, give them all they can handle. I could see this game being a 31-24 kind of game, maybe 24-17 kind of game. Just a game where Illinois hangs around. They got a big win against USC last time they played in Champaign. I think they're going to make it close again, but I still like Ohio State to win outright. But give me an Illinois cover.
It's a tough decision for me. I mean, initially I just want to say obviously Ohio State, but then you look under the hood a little bit. We predicted Ohio State to fall off this season. They have not, but a lot of their juice is still coming from that Texas win, 14-7. Turns out Texas is not that good. They lose down in the swamp to Florida, who nobody thinks is great shakes. So Ohio State did really kind of close down Washington, though, in a game Washington was really amped up for. For that reason, I'm going to take Ohio State. I think that Illinois is mid. Illinois is mid. Like they're not a top 15 team. They're probably a top 30-ish team. And I think Ohio State will have enough Buckeye fans there in Champaign that it's not going to feel like an overwhelming road environment, especially midday. It's not a night game. I think Ohio State really wins kind of like a very similar score that they beat Washington by, something like 27-10 or something like that. Give me the Buckeyes to cover and continue to roll on.
All right. I think we see a little bit of Michigan football from Brett Bielema shortening the game, and that has worked going with that game plan.
Didn't against Indiana.
That's true. Over-under of the game, by the way, was 50, so they're expecting a 32-18, 31-17 kind of a game. So, yeah, that question's answered. Let's head to the SEC now, where Missouri finally has a big game. Missouri is undefeated 5-0. They'll be hosting, we mentioned, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Missouri is kind of a team that's sneakily moved up one of the games they needed to win. Kind of a team where an easier schedule. Easier schedule. Ahmad Hardy.
Drink wins.
Nice. Alabama is favored by 3 on the road.
Alabama's favored by 3 on the road.
That audible was interesting. Alabama's favored by 3 on the road. This is an 11 o'clock game. Who do you like in this one?
Do I got to pick this one first again?
No.
I suppose I do. I have no idea about Missouri, man. We picked, I don't know, 10 Missouri games through the years, and I never have any idea. Like,
Look into the Drinkwitz ball, man. A little interesting. You gonna pick Bama then?
I'm going to pick Bama.
All
If
right.
Bama can go on the road between the hedges and beat Georgia, I think they can go on the road and beat Missouri. I just don't know enough about Missouri. I could be totally wrong on this, but Bama has. I mean, they got their bell rung by Florida State down in Tallahassee. They have pulled it together pretty nicely since then. I think Bama's one of the best one-loss teams in the country. Give me the Tide.
I'll go with you here. I just don't like putting so much pressure on Bo Babula. As good of a quarterback as he is, I trust Ty Simpson more.
But he's not as good as Drew
Aller.
Aller, for sure.
Yeah, that is true. Drew Aller, what did Dan say? A running quarterback who can't run?
Yeah. Call him a running quarterback who can't run.
Bo Babula is a running
That's
quarterback that can run, though. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Bama. I just think they're overall a well-rounded team. Missouri has one of the most underrated running backs in the country, a transfer no one's talking about. Even still, I think it's going to take more than one or two guys to take down the Tide. So roll Tide. Give me Bama as well.
Yeah. You want to go to the Coliseum? Oh, no, we have one more before that.
Two more before that. We got 6 games this week.
What?
Great
Alright.
week.
You're just trying to catch up, so you're picking more games.
Let's talk Red River rivalry. Red River shootout, Red River showdown. The 6th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners, 5-0 on the year, will be playing the Texas Longhorns in the Cotton Bowl. 2:30 kickoff on ABC.
Love watching this game.
This game is
Half orange, half red.
This is one of the most viewer-friendly games of the year. It's like watching USC, UCLA. Fireworks always, everything, momentum flies back and forth. This is a game you want to set up on your calendars. Even though the rankings don't make it look like it's going to be a close game, Texas is actually favored as an unranked team by 2.5.
Yeah.
So maybe that talks about how difficult their schedule has been compared to Oklahoma.
And the Michael Hawkins is playing quarterback. Mateer's, I presume, still out.
Right, yes.
I mean, that's a pretty big
Yeah,
deal.
with Mateer's injury. So Longhorns favored by 2.5. I got to pick this game first. Give me Oklahoma. I think they get revenge on Texas. Last year, Texas kind of washed them out of the Cotton Bowl. It wasn't close at all. I think Oklahoma gets a big one here. I think Brett Venables does a good job of confusing freshman Arch Manning, kind of like what we saw with him confusing
He's
Bryce
not a freshman. He's
So-
a junior.
Junior? Wow. Okay. Anyways, I still think Brett Venables is a heck of a defensive coordinator. That's where he made his pay, and he's doing it again at Oklahoma. I assume to see a lot of what he did to Bryce Underwood, what he's going to do to Arch Manning, because Arch Manning, even though he is a junior, whatever he is, he still has not looked solid, not looked like first-round draft pick NFL material like everybody was hyping him up to be. So give me Oklahoma to win this game outright and cover in a revenge game for the Sooners.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that most years, like the over-under is about 160.
Right.
Like finishes
Basketball
like
on turf.
Yeah, it finishes like 84 to 77. Not so this year. I don't think either team is real good on offense, but I think both are pretty good at defense. I'm going to take Texas to get off the mat here. I think Texas is better than they've looked. I really think that they are a work in progress. I think they'll come together, and I just think that Michael Hawkins is not enough.
Right.
To outscore Texas at their best. Will they play their best? I don't know, but I think Texas is going to win this game. I'm going to say a little kind of easily. Something,
Like a 20-10, 20-7 kind of a game.
I'm thinking a little higher than that. 31-24.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Longhorns in this one.
I think it could be a lower scoring game. You mentioned the defenses. Defenses have really stepped up in college football over the past few years. So yeah, I could honestly see, this is an anomaly for this kind of a game, but I could see a 23-13 kind of a game going either direction.
Yeah, I mean, that defensive line for Oklahoma, remember what they did to Auburn? They sacked Auburn 10 times. Yeah, it started out 9. I think they credited them with 10 later on. They're really, really good up front. But if they can't stay, if the offense can't stay on the field, it's going to be hard. I think Texas has the weaponry here if they're not playing on a true road turf here. I'm going to take Texas.
All right. We disagree.
Fail to reach consensus.
College game day, as of now, is heading up to Eugene, Oregon, where the Ducks will be hosting the 7th-ranked Indiana Hoosiers. Home favorite, Ducks minus 7.5, 2:30 kickoff on CBS. Both these teams have passed the eye test for sure. You can make the case that these two teams have looked the best of any team this year in college football, albeit the teams that they play probably aren't up to material. Now looking back at Penn State and whatever, but
I would say minimally they're two of the top 5 offenses.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they move the ball very well and very efficiently. So you expect to see a higher scoring game here. Ducks, as I mentioned, are favored by 7.5. I believe it's your turn to pick first.
This one's easy for me. I'm taking Oregon. Indiana did the same thing. They talked big when against Ohio State, and then just kind of got shut down. I think Oregon is legit. I mentioned Dante Moore as my national X factor in our preseason.
And he is stepped up.
And he is probably the Heisman Trophy favorite right now. I had Jeremiah Love in there. Jeremiah Love is coming on a little bit, but right now I'd give the trophy to Dante Moore. I think Oregon wins this game fairly easily. Indiana had a magical night against Illinois. They did not look real good against Iowa when we last saw them. Give me the Ducks, quack, quack, and it's not close.
Although it is hard to win on the road in the Big Ten. Well, the other Heisman candidate that's up there is Fernando Mendoza. But I will agree with you. There was a lot
33 to 13.
Sure. There was a lot of hype surrounding this game when Oregon hosted Colorado. Maybe that was just because of Deion Sanders and his name. But Oregon absolutely blasted Colorado, like 48 to 3.
Raced them.
I don't think it's going to be that crazy. I think Indiana is a solid team, and they weren't a fluke just from last year. But I do like the Ducks to cover here in kind of maybe a 34 to 17 kind of a game. Game that's never really in doubt. Oregon is bigger and stronger, and as flashy as Indiana may seem, Oregon is just a machine right now, and I think that will continue Saturday in Eugene.
That one feels like the easiest pick of the week to me.
I would like the Alabama pick against Vandy last week. All right, let's end it in the Coliseum. Michigan heading to the road to USC. USC last game lost, even though they might have outplayed Illinois. Lost in the road in game-winning field goal. This is a night game on NBC.
I don't really think they did, because Illinois fumbled the ball twice going in. But
they really put a scare into the line.
They did. They had the lead right before the end.
This game has often been played in the Rose Bowl. Not going to be anymore because conference realignment and all that stuff. But Trojans are favored by 2.5 at home, even though they are unranked. I go first, and I'm going to stick with Michigan. Michigan has looked as I predicted them to be so far this year, even with a road win against Nebraska. I think that continues. I think Michigan will open Bryce Underwood a little bit more, and that's always a risky thing to say with Michigan football, that we're going to expect to see more quarterback run game or whatever. But I think Michigan is going to need to match what Jaden Maeva can do, both with his arm and with his legs, and I think they can do that with Bryce Underwood. I think that this is going to be a game that relies heavily on mistakes. And I think that Michigan last week, although they had a couple mistakes here and there, only one penalty of the week, I think that's something that they worked on the bye week, is more mentally locking into the games, because earlier in the season that was kind of rough. And I think USC and a Lincoln Riley-led team is going to slip up in some areas. And I think mistakes are largely underrated in football games. And I think that's going to come to show out here. So give me Michigan to win this game outright in a game where USC could end up with about 10 penalties and Michigan could end up with about 3, and that ends up biting them in the butt. Michigan kind of putting together a drive to win the game under Justice Sands and Jordan Marshall. So give me Michigan to win this game outright.
So last year, Michigan had Alex Orji, and USC had Miller Moss. This year, USC has Jaden Maeva and Michigan has Bryce Underwood.
Michigan's going to lose that game, though. Because that game was a tale of two halves, for sure.
Well, yeah, that was superhero Claude Mullings Day. I think USC is going to win. This was the one game preseason I had as a loss. We differed on Nebraska. I just think the travel, the time zone change, I think a neutral field, this one's a pretty good game. To me, this is going to come down to what sort of an offense does USC choose to run. If they choose to do a lot of 5-7-step drops, they're going to get chewed up by Derek Moore and by Jay Sean Barham. I think that they know enough to do something different than that. And I think there'll be a lot of quick passes and a lot of spreading the field. Michigan does not have great corner depth. Zeke Berry is back, but he did not play particularly well against Wisconsin. So you're looking at Jair Hill, and you're really looking at Rod Moore to get the right
He did
calls.
play well.
Rod Moore nearly had a pick six. And I think, did he get the interception on the one that could have been pass interference?
Yeah, he did.
So.
When you predict, can we mention that? How you predicted this is the turnover. He said, quote, this is the turnover. This is where the
time for the turnover.
The turnover comes, and boom, that very play, Rod Moore interception, only turnover of the game. So great call by the preacher. Watched a lot of football.
Yeah, well, he almost had a pick six on another time where they tried to do a throwback screen, and Rod Moore just sniffed it out of him.
And Rod Moore had a great play on a reverse, too, that only got 5 yards when it looked like he was going to go for the house. So great game by him for sure.
So I'm going to take USC to win, probably by 8 to 10 points. They're favored. But did you say 2.5? I see 1.5 and 2.5. 28-20 USC.
Over-under is about 57.
Yeah,
so higher for a Michigan football game, probably about what USC expects.
I do think Justice Haynes gets loose. I do think Jordan Marshall does work. But I think that USC with the Dan Tomlin defense is going to play some bend but don't break. They're going to. I mean, the two defenses are very, very similar. They're both actually out of the Wink Martindale system. Danton has been running that successfully. I think USC wins. I don't think Michigan has to feel ashamed about it. USC is good. I think they're better than their ranking would indicate. And I think USC is going to be in contention for a playoff spot.
I think this is going to resemble a lot of the Miami-Florida State game, where Miami is a road team, goes into more of a hostile environment. Now, the Coliseum isn't so hostile, but it is a Big Ten road environment. And honestly could get outplayed. But the difference in the Miami-Florida State game was Florida State had 3 turnovers and Miami had 0. And Miami was able to win the turnover or win the time of possession battle, even though they got doubled up on first down. So I think there's going to be kind of a game like that where Michigan, honestly, especially in the second half, the defense gets tired, cornerbacks fall asleep maybe a little bit, and USC is able to move the ball, but because of mistakes, Michigan is able to win.
I just think Lincoln Riley is smart enough. This is not going to be a game like Wisconsin, which is won and lost in the trenches, or Nebraska. I think this is a game that's won and lost in the perimeter, and I think USC just has too much firepower. Outscores Michigan. We'll see.
That's what we thought when they played Ohio State last year, and Michigan played Michigan football. And Pound of the Rock took time, took the air of the ball, and got the dub. So maybe a little bit of that.
Do you think Michigan controls the clock here though? I don't think USC has a good enough defense really to control the clock. I think Michigan's going to score fairly quickly, but I do think you're right. I think it's going to come down to mistakes. I think it's going to have turnovers, and we have to see how Bryce does on the road.
Yeah, but I do think they can, because eventually the big plays are going to come to a stop, and then it's just going to be chunk plays and 8-yard run plays and 6-yard run plays that opens up a 13-yard pass and kind of just marching down the field. Even though that'll probably be a little more consistent for USC than Michigan. Like I said, I think Michigan could very well get outgained and outplayed in this game, but mistakes are going to bite USC, as we've seen before. And Michigan is a team where they don't make mistakes very often.
I hope you're right. That's a lot of picking this week.
23 and a half minutes worth. Should we wrap it?
We should wrap it.
All right.
We hope this video quality isn't a whole lot worse. We've had such bad internet issues here in the Diamond Vogel Studios. Hopefully Spectrum fixes it. We're doing this old school this week. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you tune in to watch our reactions next week and enjoy a great Week 7 of college football. Until we meet again, I'm the Preacher.
I'm the Prodigy.
Peace. Pax Romana.